A young soldier from Washington and his girlfriend were murdered. They were killed by the soldiers' comrades back in 2011, a crime that sent shockwaves throughout the entire military. Now there's new evidence about what the U.S. Army knew about this murderous group in the months before those killings.
New questions about why the military didn't do anything about them, as King 5 investigator Chris Ingalls reports.
Fort Stewart, Georgia, a place with a proud history of soldiering, has a dark chapter in its past. In this remote area outside the Army post, a crime scene photo shows the place where 19-year-old Michael Rourke and his 17-year-old girlfriend were shot dead. Private Rourke had just left the Army in December of 2011 and was preparing to come back to his mother's home in Marysville, here in Washington.
I think he was scared. You have to remember, he's a 19-year-old kid. And I think he was scared.
She could tell her son was troubled, but didn't know why until days after the murders. Authorities started arresting U.S. soldiers, Michael's Army buddies. They were charged with luring Michael and his girlfriend, Tiffany York, into the woods and executing them.
They take an oath to become a soldier, and they failed every part of that oath. The integrity, the trust, the courage.
Michael Rourke had two moms, his biological mother Tracy Jarr and her wife Jackie Gilmore. Both would soon learn that 11 people, including 4 active duty soldiers, played a part in the murders. The accused ringleader confessed on video. "I watched 2 people get murdered and I'm about to go to jail," Agigi says in a barely audible whisper to an interrogator. "And that's my reality." Private Isaac Agigi organized the group and ordered the killings. Like his young victim, the 20-year-old Agigi was from Washington State, Kashmir. Recently uncovered records show Agigi was anything but a good soldier, and the U.S. Army knew it.
They had Agigi in their sights. They had him on their radar. They were watching different things that he did, and nobody took any action to do anything to stop him.
Records recently filed in a federal court lawsuit by the victims' families show Agigi was kicked out of officer school for use of a knife to threaten another cadet. Numerous disciplinary infractions followed, and a restraining order filed by his Army sergeant wife.
The only want to talk about, I can only get 1,000 today. Can I give you 2,000 on Monday?
Here, in a video secretly recorded by Agigi, he pays his commanding sergeant cash in order to get out of work duty. Agigi recorded the video to blackmail his sergeant if and when it suited him.
Now, as he rolls away, I just want you to see, this is not on my person. I did not hide this in my pockets. So if he tries to say that he didn't have it or I didn't hand it to him, hey, I handed it to my sergeant major.
The Army knew Private Isaac Agigi was a threat well before Tiffany and Michael were killed on December 6th of 2011. 7 months before the murders, this Army report shows Agigi was a prime suspect in a plot to kill a drug dealer to steal his money and drugs. 5 months before the murders, someone was dead. Agigi's wife, Sergeant Deirdre Agigi, died mysteriously in their home after what Agigi said was a session of rough sex.
I want to wake up from this bad dream. That's all I want.
Agigi denied that he killed his wife, but within days of her death, he was clearly a suspect. Agigi made several comments about coming into a lot of money soon, according to witnesses who spoke to Army investigators. When Agigi did receive a partial insurance settlement, he spent over $16,000 in one night at a strip club. Not exactly a husband in mourning.
All of those things, they just keep stacking up. You know, why didn't they do anything? Why didn't they stop him then?
But Army superiors didn't stop him and even granted him leave for a trip home to Washington. 3 months before the double murder, that trip led to an alarming law enforcement bulletin. Agigi may be planning a terrorist attack against an unknown entity, it said, based on a tip phoned into police. The Army and FBI determined Agigi purchased assault weapons like these in Wenatchee, approximately $32,000 worth of firearms in all. When FBI agents caught up with Agigi, they determined he does not appear to pose a terrorism threat at this time. But there was a terrorist plot taking shape. Agigi led other soldiers in stockpiling weapons and bombs in a secret anti-government militia at Fort Stewart that he called Fear.
Do you have a name for your whatever it is? Your family and what's Fear? Fear.
Investigators eventually determined that Fear included a network of wives, girlfriends, and friends. On December 6, 2011, its first and only victims were murdered in these Georgia woods. Soldiers admitted that they killed Michael Rourke because Fear believed he knew too much about its plan and would talk.
A loose end is one way that Isaac put it.
The wrongful death lawsuit filed in Seattle federal court by the families of Michael Rourke and Tiffany York says the U.S. Army ignored abundant signs that Agigi and his group were dangerous and mentally unstable soldiers. In response, an Army spokesperson emailed King 5, as a matter of policy, the Army does not comment on ongoing litigation.
His death was not fighting for a country outside of the United States, but he was fighting for his life here with American soldiers. And it's very hard to swallow that.
In court, government lawyers have said the Army could not have predicted that Agigi would kill. They say even Rourke didn't know that, or he wouldn't have gone into those woods with Agigi and the rest of the group. Agigi has been convicted of murdering Rourke and Tiffany York and his wife, Agigi's wife. He's now serving a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole, so presumably he's locked up forever.
So the criminal part of this is all settled, but what about this lawsuit? When will that go to trial?
Well, that's moving forward in federal court here in Seattle. The trial date for that is August 14th. But the Army and the plaintiffs have told the judge that they're in mediation talks, so there's a possibility of a settlement here before that date.
Chris, thank you so much.
Sure.